Hello, today we will be making Flipping Awesome cards. I used the Flipping Awesome die set by Fawn, and these are the dies I used for the tabs, the little white cards, and the bigger square cards. This is the actual mechanism for it. You will fold along all of the scored lines, and I like to fold it both ways to just make sure that it will go smoothly. I also make sure that when I fold it, I have the correct side sticking out. You'll see the lines. I used this Trees Before and After stamp set, also by Fawn, and the Sending Warm Wishes stamp from that set. So here I'm using the Gina K black ink and just doing all of my stamps on my little white cards. This time around I did the ones with the scalloped edges. It does also come with a square with perforated edges. This one I just thought was a little more fun this go around. And I love all these different trees. I think it's so fun to do on the Flipping Awesome die set. On this winter stamp, I just wanted to add a little bit more of a visual, so I am adding some of the little snowflakes also from this same Trees Before and After set. Now that all my stamping is done, I am going to use my Copic markers to do my coloring. So I start with the G07 Nile Green to color in all of my leaves. Now I will come back over and just the very bottom, kind of the V of the bottom, I will come back in with the G17 Forest Green. I come back in with that G07 and just kind of make sure that it's blended out and I don't have any strict lines. But this helps give my leaves some dimension so they don't look so flat. Here I am using my Zero colorless blender to push some of the green back where it came onto the white of my card. So here I am again with the G07 Nile Green, just filling in all the leaves, just all the way through. Now back again with the G17 Forest Green, just to add a little bit more dimension to the very bottom V of these leaves. Try and give them just a little bit more visual appeal. And then back through again with the G07 Nile Green, just to make sure that it's blended. Now I'm gonna start on the leaves on this fall tree with the Y11, the pale yellow. For some more of the fall leaves, I will use the YR24 Pale Sepia. Next, I will be using the G07 Nile Green, and then I will color over that with the YR24 Pale Sepia. And for the last leaves under the tree, I'm using the RV29 Crimson. And that one ended up being a little bit bright, so I colored over it with the Y11 Pale Yellow. Now that all my leaves are done, I'm going to start on my trees. And I started this one out with the YR24, But once I got going, I just realized it was much more yellow and lighter than I wanted. So I went over it with the E09 Burnt Sienna. And that gave it more of the look that I was hoping for. I did want to give it some more dimension, so I then went over it in different areas and I kind of drew some lines throughout just to give it a little bit more texture to it with the E29 Burnt Umber. And then of course I went back over it with the E09 Burnt Sienna just to make sure that I blurred those lines, and I really like the texture that it ended up giving to the tree. With the other trees, I went over them first with the E09 Burnt Sienna, and then I did the same kind of thing with drawing lines and just giving dimension with the E29 Burnt Umber. Then just went back through and kind of blurred the lines and made sure I didn't have any real hard lines with the E09 Burnt Sienna. For some reason today, I just couldn't stay in the lines, so here I am using the 0 Colorless Blender again to push some of my color back to where it's supposed to be. I really have loved this. It's kind of like an eraser, but for markers, it works really good to just push it back where it's supposed to be, and it doesn't leave too much of the color behind. Now that my trees are all done, I came back and I colored in the flowers on the summer, the summer tree with the RV17 Deep Magenta. Now I'm gonna do a little U shape around the outside of each petal with the RV29, the Crimson, just to give it some more dimension. And then I will just go back over it with the RV17 Deep Magenta just to kind of blur out those lines just a little bit. Now I'll just fill in the center of each of those flowers with the Y13 Lemon Yellow. Okay, on to the last but not least, the winter tree. I started off with a darker color this time. I should have started with my lighter one, but I started off with the C3 Cool Gray number 3, and then I just came in and filled in the top part with the C1 Cool Gray number 1. I let my colors dry for just a minute, and then I used my Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen to color in just a little bit over top of each of these snowflakes, and then on the snow on the tree and on the base of the tree. And then here is a close-up of what they look like all finished. You can kind of see the sparkle on that one just a little bit. I love that it just gives it a little more interest. Spring and then summer. Alright, after letting them dry for a while, especially this one with the sparkle from the Spectrum Noir pen, I just put on 1/4-inch Scrappy Tape on the back and put them onto the pieces of paper that I had already die cut with the larger square die. You can see here I got a little bit of sparkle on my finger, so I just put it back on the image, and it just looks like a little bit more snow is falling. So now I line them up in what order I want them to be. So my summer will be the last one. So I put the 1/4-inch Scrappy Tape along the back of the whole card, and then I will place this on the white mechanism, just making sure my tabs are where they should be, Now I just go along all of those score marks where I have folded, and I just put 2 pieces of 1/4" Scrappy Tape on each section. That's all the tape that we'll use to attach the rest of the stamped images. Once I get the backing off, I will take the stamped spring tree and put it right up against that score line and just press it down. And then I just do the same process, pull off the backing, and then I'll take the winter tree, same thing, just right up against the score line and just press down the edge so that when they flip, they're not held down by much. So it's way easier for them to actually flip. And I definitely struggled pulling off all the backing today. Oh my goodness, it was a struggle. So there we have it. And then all that is going to be holding down the whole mechanism are those 2 little flaps. So I did go back and fold them down again just to make sure that as I pull it, they will flip well. Now that the main part's all done, I'm just gonna put some 1/8" Scrappy Tape. I could have used 1/4", I just didn't think it through, on the back of this little piece for the pull tab, just to give it a little more thickness so that it doesn't bend so much. And I picked the one with a hole in it. There is another one that has a little arrow kind of to direct them, but I wanted to be able to tie this piece of jute through it. And right here, I lost part of my video where I actually strung it through, and then I lost the part where I stamped this Sending Warm Wishes with the Versamark ink, and then I used the black Nouveau embossing powder. So, and I also lost where I used the Tombow glue to glue down my panel to my card. Oh, it was so frustrating. I'm sorry that I didn't have those for you. So I realized as I laid that down that I didn't like the just white. So I took my C9 Cool Gray number 9 and just drew along the outside of this just to give it a little bit more dimension without having to back it or to stamp along the outside, since I don't have my brushes yet to use my distress inks. All right, so now I lay it flat and I put on 2 pieces of the 1/4" Scrappy Tape to each side of these tabs, because this is what's going to be holding down the whole mechanism. So just make sure what you use is going to be able to hold it on. So I fold it, make sure it's down where it should be, and then I just carefully place it onto my card, and that's it. Just those 2 little pieces of tape. There was nothing else to hold that on, just so the mechanism can move freely. Then another 1/4" Scrappy Tape onto my saying, and this saying is also from the Trees Before and After by Fawn. So I just stuck to that stamp set, and I just am so happy with how it turned out. Here is another card. I used the same die set and stamp set, just did some different Copic coloring with it, and then different positions on the actual card. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll give the Flippin' Awesome die set and the Trees Before and After stamp set, both by Fawn, a try. Have a good day. Thanks for watching.